Okay, picture this. A disease so absolutely devastating it completely rewrote human history. Now what if it came back? But not in a world of castles and knights. In our world, right now, with all its skyscrapers and high-speed internet. Yeah, let's dive into this. It's a chilling thought experiment, but a really important one.
So that's the big question we're tackling here. You can forget about zombies, forget about asteroids hitting the planet. The threats that should really keep us up at night, they're often microscopic. So what would a plague on the scale of the Black Death actually look like today in our totally interconnected world?
But before we can even think about the future, we've got to look back. We really need to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the original Black Death. I mean, this wasn't just some bad flu season we're talking about. This was, well, it was basically an apocalypse.
Okay, look at this timeline. The thing that's just mind-blowing here is the speed. Remember, this is a world powered by horses and wind, right? And this plague just rips across entire continents in under a decade. Think about that, from the Black Sea all the way to England in just 3 years. You can only imagine the terror that this relentless march caused.
60%. Just let that number sink in for a minute. We're talking about parts of Europe where a single disease wiped out more than half of everyone. Everyone. It's a death toll that's almost impossible for us to even wrap our minds around today. Society wasn't just damaged, it was fundamentally broken and then completely remade.
So what was the culprit? The killer? It was this little guy, Yersinia pestis, a bacterium. It basically hitched a ride on fleas, and those fleas hitched a ride on rats scurrying along all the major trade routes. But here's the really scary part. In its deadliest form, the pneumonic plague, it didn't even need the fleas. Nope, it could spread directly through the air, from one person's lungs to another.
You know that old saying, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes? Well, it's absolutely true for pandemics. Turns out, after centuries of studying these things, we figured out that all major outbreaks, whether it's the Black Death or something more recent, follows some predictable patterns. And understanding these rules of contagion is the key to our whole thought experiment here.
So what are these patterns? Well, they boil down to 4 basic rules. First, pathogens ride our networks. Back then, it was the Silk Road. Today, it's a flight from New York to Tokyo. Second, the bug itself is only half the battle. How we react, our fear, our cooperation, our politics, that's what really shapes the outcome. Third, pandemics are economic earthquakes. They shake everything up. And finally, number 4, knowledge always lags behind reality. We're pretty much always playing catch-up with a virus that's already out there.
All right, so let's take those timeless rules and plug them into the modern world, right here, right now. Because obviously, we're not in the 14th century anymore. We have amazing tools they couldn't even have dreamed of. But we also have new vulnerabilities they could never have imagined.
And this comparison just lays it all out, doesn't it? A pathogen that took years to crawl across Eurasia can now hop on a plane and circle the globe in less than 24 hours. And it's not just germs. A rumor that used to take months to spread by ship can now become a viral piece of misinformation in minutes. Our networks are just exponentially more powerful. And that cuts both ways, for good and for ill.
Of course, it's not all bad news. Our own toolkit has gotten a serious upgrade. We've swapped out things like bloodletting and superstition for actual science. We have antibiotics that can knock out bacterial plagues, we have public health systems, we have incredible tech like genetic sequencing and mRNA vaccines. I mean, on paper, it looks like we have every possible advantage.
But, and this is the huge paradox of our modern world, all that complexity is also our greatest weakness. Think about it. Our just-in-time global supply chains that bring us everything, our incredibly dense cities, our total reliance on digital networks, these are our strengths for sure, but under the strain of a real biological crisis, they can shatter and cause this terrifying chain reaction of failures.
And nowhere is this double-edged sword sharper than with our most powerful new tool, AI. On one hand, it could be our savior, right? Powering drug discovery, predicting exactly where an outbreak will pop up next. But on the other hand, it could be a weapon of pure chaos. It could be used to automate and spread panic and misinformation faster and more effectively than any human ever could. It's a huge opportunity and a huge risk.
So this all brings us to the final critical question. If we were faced with a plague-level event today, with all our 21st century tech, but also all our 21st century fragility, which way would we go? Would we see resilience, or would we see total collapse?
Because when you boil it all down, it comes to this. The bug itself, whether it's Yersinia pestis or some brand new virus, that's just biology. That's just the stage. The actual story, the outcome, the death toll, the economic chaos,
Whether we recover or not, that's all on us. It's determined by our choices, our systems, and maybe most importantly, our ability to trust each other.
And that's really the point of this whole explainer. Thinking about what if the Black Death returns is, yeah, it's fascinating and scary, but it's really a mirror. It's forcing us to look at ourselves, right here, right now, and ask a much more important question. Are we actually ready?
Look, the next big one isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We all know that. So the final question really is for all of us. When it happens, will we let it be the thing that shatters our complex world, or will we have built the systems, the trust, and the foresight to make it a turning point, a moment that actually makes us stronger, more resilient? The choice, really, is up to us.